All right, guys. So welcome back after a week gap. Okay. So let me remind you, we are going through BGP Border Gateway Protocol. Might be we covered part A and part B so far. So this is your third class, part C or part 3, whatever you take it. So let me open up this. So this is what we discussed in the previous classes. So we discussed about all the key points. We discussed about the autonomous systems, the 4-byte autonomous system, a little bit on the frequently asked questions on ASN, autonomous system numbers. Okay, and the peering state in case of BGP, the neighborship, I mean to say the neighborship states between two BGP routers. So they go through idle, connect, active, open send, open confirm, establish. This was the flow chart that we discussed. This is a message type in the case of BGP. So when there are two routers, they are forming BGP, they will start with some message. Once they form the neighborship, the update has to be sent and there will be some keep alive time to time. So those are all taken care by the packets. Okay, the we call it as message or a message type. And we had done a basic lab in our previous class, so I guess you guys have practiced it after the class. Okay, so this was just a basic class to see the BGP tables, to see how the neighborships are formed, what are the commands to configure BGP. Okay, so this was we discussed. So we have neighbor table, we have forwarding table, and we have routing table, and this is to enable the debugs to see how the peering state happens, what are the timers, what are the packets that we see on our screen when we have the BGP getting established. Okay, active and passive, as I told, between two routers, one will act as active, the second one will act as passive. So the one with the lowest BGP router ID will start the connection. Okay, so this active router will always have a port number greater than 1023. On other side, the other router which is having a higher router ID, which is acting as a passive, it will have, or it will be listening on TCP port number 173. So uh, this is something which we are listening for the first time in case of BGP, whereas in case of OSPF and EIGRP the things used to be different. So let's say when router A is sending a packet, a hello packet, router B would be listening on so and so port number. Similar way, when router B is sending a packet to router A would be listening on that multicast IP or multicast address. Okay, but in the case of BGP, it's a TCP number, TCP 179. So this port number get associated with one of the passive router, and passive router is one with a higher router ID. These are the BGP logs about the three-way handshake and all those things which we discussed. Okay, the configurations, and yes, as I told you, we can change the behavior of active and passive manually. If I want router B to be active, I can make use of this command to change the behavior. BGP timers, hello and hold timer as usual in the protocols. So it's default 60 and 180. You can change them. The best practice says that don't get your hold timer minimum or lower than 3 seconds. Keep at least 3 seconds. And this was the last topic that we discussed. Next hop self. Okay, so what happens is, by default, uh, let's say this is IBGP. Okay, these two routers are on IBGP and this is on eBGP. So the prefix of this router, when they are advertised to Vodafone router 27, and when Vodafone 27 is gonna send those updates to Vodafone router 28, what this router doesn't do is, I'm going to say doesn't do. Okay, the reason why I say that word doesn't is, it should have changed the next hop before sending those packets. So before sending these packets, let's say this is 4.4.4.4. So while advertising from 27 to 28, it should have sent 4.4.4.4, and it should have included its own IP as the gateway. But this is not going to do that. That's the default behavior of iBGP. You just cannot say, or you just cannot ask me like why isn't doing. It's a default behavior of iBGP. iBGP will not change the next hop gateway. So what happens is, this router, the Vodafone router 28, how does it see 4.4.4? It will see 4.4.4 getting advertised from this interface, okay, which is hops away, multiple hops away, which is in different AS. Now let's say there are some let's say these are some dynamic routing protocol like OSPF or RIP or EIGRP that goes down. Okay, now there is no way you can reach to this end. There is no way you can reach to this end, because you are relying on some other protocol, and if that protocol is down, you do not know how to reach this. So what I do is I make use of feature called as next hop gateway, next hop self. So what this feature is gonna do is, Vodafone router 27, while advertising those 4.4.4.4, it will make sure to remove this and include its own IP as a next hop gateway. Okay, so we have practically checked this, and we have done the lab as well. I guess I have the configuration here. So this was the lab which we have done in the previous class. Okay, and well, so these many topics are something which we covered. Now let's quickly check where do you guys stand. Okay, I'm going to take a couple of minutes just asking some basic questions. So you guys are more than I would expect more than couple of guys participating. It's very straightforward questions. Okay, so I have few questions. You can make use of chat window to say yes or no, or one or two or three, whatever option is. So let's say first question. Okay, BGP supports dynamic neighbor discovery by both routers. So what do you think? So you are open to open up your mic and answer to justify so that other guys can understand. So with dynamic neighbor discovery, it's something when you enable the feature, they are gonna get neighborship. Okay, uh, as soon as you configure network command, as soon as you enable router OSPF process or router BGP process, they are gonna send the hello packet and something like that. Is it true or false in case of BGP? So let's see.
False.
Okay, so let's see the answers, and let's see. We have okay, false, good. Okay, okay. I see answers are all same. Okay, so there is no yes and no, so I don't think there could be any possibilities for different version of answer. The right answer is false. The reason is they are manually configured. Okay, BGP forms manual relation, they're not dynamic, right? How do we configure two routers to be BGP? We have to define the neighbor statement manually, and then they are gonna form BGP neighbors. Otherwise, no neighbor relationship. Okay, good with the first question. Now, second question: the IPv4 address family must be initialized to establish a BGP session with a peer using IP4 addressing. Now, this question is very similar to this, but in little different variant. Okay, so it says as soon as you enable the network command, or as soon as you get the router BGP IPv4, are they gonna form neighborship? So again, very similar to the first question. I guess you might have uh, understood this way of question, because you never know in during the certification they can ask you this or this, right? So that's my reason I included two questions with the same similar meaning. So what do you think? Answer is true or false? Read it. If you have any problem, you can read it across. Okay. So any answer? Yes, no. Okay. False, false, false. Network command. Good. That is what I was expecting. It's false. Okay. So there should be manual CLI commands which is required to form neighborships. Okay. Well, regarding question number 3, how many tables does BGP use for storing prefixes? Okay, let's say two brand new routers are configured for BGP and they're forming a successful neighborship. So you know what is happening. There are different kind of packets: neighbor packet, open confirm, open send, update packet, notification packet. Now all these are carrying some prefixes. Now how many tables are used uh, to save these prefixes? So there are some tables which we are discussing in every routing protocols, right? Mm, various answers. So let me give you a hint. In case of OSPF and EIGRP, there are certain tables, okay, certain number of tables. So the hint is even BGP is gonna have the same number of tables. So how many tables are they? Okay, great. Yes, there are three tables. Okay, so I can rephrase this in this way, that all the enterprise protocols, okay, like RIP, EIGRP, OSPF, BGP, they're gonna have three tables. Okay, the first table is called as neighbor table, where you have the directly connected neighbors information. Second, you're gonna have the BGP table. So this BGP table is gonna consist of all the neighbor information, but the best one would be placed inside routing table. Okay, so this makes three tables in the case of enterprise protocol. Why did I say enterprise protocol? Because you have multiple, uh, you can categorize in different way: enterprise, service providers, or nowadays you talk about cloud, like cloud protocols, or you have the SDN, software defined networks, right? So in the case of SD-WAN, software defined, which is also called as overlay technology. So in case of SD-WAN, you make use of protocol OMP, okay, which is a overlay protocol. In this protocol you will see four tables. Now this is a different protocol, it's a overlay protocol. Okay, so don't confuse. It's all enterprises will have only three tables, no matter it's a RIP or EIGRP or OSPF or BGP. They're gonna have only three tables. In case of different services like service provider or overlay protocol, then tables can change. So don't take my word in different way, that I said they are gonna have three table. Now don't think that other protocols might also have same three numbers. Okay, so that's why I said the one of the protocol which is on SD side, software defined side, they will have four. But in the enterprises, what we are studying now, CCNP enterprises, all the protocols are gonna have 3 tables. Okay. Okay, last question here. That's BGP advertises all its path for every prefix so that every neighbor can build its own topology table. So true or false? So this is something like, let's say I have two router R1 and R2. I have multiple prefixes, right? I have multiple prefixes, and it's this question says that as soon as BGP start advertising, all other prefixes like let's say 1.1.1 is started forming neighborship with 2.2.2 on other side. Yes, so answer is false. Okay, you cannot have neighborship between these two because you have to manually define the neighbors for these networks. You will just have neighborship between these two only, one to one. Now let's say you want to have any other network to form neighbors, then you must manually define them. Yes, so in BGP it's manual, whereas in case of OSPF and EIGRP that would have been dynamic. As soon as you enable network command, as soon as you have done all the basic requirement, they form neighbors, they form neighborship, they will form exchanging the packet. But in case of BGP it's manual. Okay. Okay. Last question. What is the TCP number of BGP? Okay, great. 179. Okay. And do you guys remember the AD values? What is the AD value of IBGP? Great. Great. Okay. Okay. Fine. So you guys are doing good. Okay. So let's start with the class. I'll start with the class. We are going to do some we are going to cover very important topics today. So I'll take Q&A later and I'll unmute during Q&A. Fine. So let me open up my PDF or presentation. Well, so we all know there are two type of BGPs. One is IBGP and the second one is eBGP. Okay. So why does we call it as IBGP, or how do the configuration or uh, what kind of router placement makes it IBGP? So for example, I have taken this as an example. So this is called as example for IBGP. The reason is I have two Vodafone routers which is a part of my BGP autonomous system. So both the router, they're forming BGP neighbors, okay, and they are gonna have the same autonomous system getting shared. So let's say while I'm here, what are my configuration gonna look like? I'm going to configure router BGP. What is my local autonomous going to be? 650001. What is my neighbor command would be? Neighbor command is now, let's say this is dot 2 and this is dot 1. So it would be 10.172.13.2, and I'm going to define the remote AS. Now remote AS is again the same thing, which is the reason it's called as IBGP. It's going to be 65001, which is same, right? My local AS and the remote AS are same, and that's why that's a indication to say that it's a IBGP, and the rest thing remain the same. I go and advertise my network command, and whatever networks I have, let's say I have a loop back, and similar way I have a loop back on other side. So I have to define, let's say in this in Vodafone R27, I'm going to define the network over here. So similar way the configuration on this side would be done. Okay, router BGP 65001. I'm going to define the neighbor statement. So neighbor now is dot 1. Okay, I'm going to say remote AS. Now remote AS is once again 65001 because these are a part of 65001. Now they are called, now they form a neighborship. Let's go step by step. So what happens when we have done the configuration? They are gonna form neighbors. Okay, so once they form neighbors, they be a part of IBGP. Okay, IBGP relationship. So let's see what are they. So they are going to share the same autonomous system. Fine. So same thing. Routes learned from IBGP peer will not be advertised to other BGP peers. Okay, that's true, and that's very important. Uh, Regarding this point number 3, it says that any prefix that's over here might be this router also has another router. Okay, let's say this. Okay, let me take over here. So let's say this is router 27, 28 and 29, and this router has some prefixes to advertise 4.4.1. So this is going to advertise to router 27. In case of IBGP, what is this going to do is it's not going to forward those routes. Okay, it's not going to forward, it's only going to forward that are directly connected to it. Okay, if I have any prefixes on it, only those are getting exchanged, but not anything learned from other routers. Okay, routes learned from IBGP peer will be not advertised to other IBGP. The main reason is to have to prevent looping, to avoid looping. Okay, so to avoid looping in case of IBGP, there are two mechanisms. The first mechanism is full mesh. So what is full mesh? Let's say this router was connected to router 29. So the full mesh says all routers must be connected directly. Okay, so this router should be connected directly to this. Now they form a full mesh. Okay, something, let's say in this way. So let's say I have 4 routers. So let's say I have 4 routers. Okay, I am creating the IBGP configuration. So what happens is they are not a full mesh at this moment, because R1 and R4 are not directly connected. Okay, so what happens in this case is this gets applied, or this is effective. This statement is effective. So any route which is over here 4.4.4.4 will be shared with these two guys because they are directly connected, R2 and R3. But R2 and R3 are not going to carry those routes to any other peer IBGPs. Okay, so that's not going to reach over here. So for a person or for a router R4, this router is not going to know where is 4.4.4. Okay, so how do we fix this? And so first thing is, why do we need this kind of mechanism? That is because to avoid looping. Okay, what happens is, let's say this router would have advertised to this R4. Now that route would have been again advertised to R3, and R3 would have advertised back to R1. That would have formed a loop. So what we do in BGP, or by default what BGP does is, it's not going to advertise. Very simple. I'm not going to advertise, and I'm not going to create any looping in my enterprise. So to avoid this looping, and at the same time I need my R4 to know what is 4.4.4, what I do is I have two options. Either I can go with full mesh or route reflector. Okay, what is full mesh? Full mesh is a scenario where I will cable a link between R1 and R4. Now they are a full mesh. Okay, and similar way I'll also cable between these two. Now they form a full mesh because you see there is a direct connectivity, also a direct connectivity. Similar way, if you talk from R2 point of view, it's having a direct connection with all the router. This forms a full mesh. Okay, so this way this router, this network 4.4.4 will be learned over on R4. Okay, and also your looping is being taken care because of full mesh. You know how the where are the routes coming from, because they are all directly connected. Now route reflector is a concept of something like your DR and BDR in case of OSPF. Okay, so there will be a router which will be elected as route reflector. Okay, so you must form a neighborship with your RR, route reflector, and the route reflector is going to send update packet accordingly. So we will do this two labs, might be in the next class, but as of now, from this point number 3, okay, if I say routes learned from IBGP will be not advertised, then just remember this diagrams that I have discussed. Okay, all these topics which I have written here. So by default, they will not advertise in case of IBGP. That's because to avoid looping. But let's say you want your R4 to know what is the prefix behind R1, then you can go with full mesh or route reflector, and these labs we will do in the next classes. Okay, so this is explained. What is point number 4? By default, IBGP peers are going to be TTL of 255. Now I have a lab today which is with regards to this values. Okay, so we will discuss this during that time, but as of now, remember TTL value in IBGP is 255, and in case of EBGP the TTL is going to be 1, only 1. Okay, I'll do a lab today and I'll show you, I'll talk about this point. Okay, and regards to the AD value, IBGP is going to be 200. 200 is very high number. It's almost a, a bad AD values, because you have better AD values, right? So in case of AD values, it's a trustfulness. Okay, so the lower the trustfulness, the more preferred route is being considered. So if you have your EBGP or OSPF or EIGRP, so these are considered over on this, because of these are having a lower AD value than this. Okay, and the main reason why IGP are given the high values are because, as I told you, they are not meant to be directly connected. Okay, so you can have routers on non directly connected, so that's why we don't trust the ADs, or we don't trust the prefix that's been learnt over on IBGP scenarios. But in the case of EBGP, that's having a better AD values, AD of 20, because we manually define, and to have EBGP, the first point is that they should be directly connected. That makes it more trustful. We know who is going to send us the update, right? I'm going to define my neighbors manually. So that's why it's more preferred and it's having a better AD value. So IBGP 200, the next hop remains unchanged. So this is something which we discussed in next hop self. Okay. So if I have another AS value, so whatever routes 4.4.4, when it's going across to, or when it's reaching to 28, R27 is not going to change the next hop. Okay, remains unchanged. That's a default behavior of IBGP. They are not going to change, but yes, you can change it with the feature called next hop self. IBGP will not do not need to be directly connected. That's why this AD is so high in case of BGP. They don't have to be directly connected. Okay, fine. That was regards to IBGP. Now let's move towards EBGP. So if the peers are in different autonomous system, they form EBGP. EBGP peering is between two autonomous system. Route learns from EBGP will be advertised to other peers. So in case of EBGP, so let's have a diagram. So let's say this is autonomous system 1, autonomous system 2, autonomous system 3. Okay. So in case of eBGP, when do we call eBGP? When they are on two different autonomous system. Okay. And between this, it's iBGP. Okay. Between these two, it's eBGP, because they are two different autonomous systems. So in the case of eBGP, we say that routes learned from eBGP will be advertised. So that means any prefix length which you are sending it across to R2, that will be learned easily by R2, because you are going to have those looping mechanism integrated. So as I told you, when the packets or when the prefixes are going AS to AS, what is going to happen? There is something prepending, something gets prepended, that is the AS value. Let's say your packet 1.1.1.1. Now AS will be prepended. 1 is getting added or integrated with this traffic. Now when 1.1.1 moves out from this AS to this AS 1.1.1, so you have 1 added up here. Now you have AS value 2 added up here. So this prevents looping. Okay, there is no way this packet can go back to this, because this is gonna check what are the AS value. Now let's say AS value would look something like this. You get 1 added up, 2 added up, 3 added up, 4 added up. Let's say these are all AS value. Now this go back to 1, so it's gonna recognize its own AS value and it's gonna discard that. Okay, so that's a looping mechanism, looping avoiding mechanism. So in the case of eBGP, I can easily send my packet from one AS to another AS, and that's something I have mentioned as advertised to other peers. But if you talk about this part, okay, between the two routers, now let's say I am still pushing that 4.4, which has to go here, and then it has to come out of this to this AS. In between, as you know, iBGP is running. So what you do, you can achieve the forwarding nature by those two looping mechanism. You can either have the full mesh, so that the prefix that is learnt here can be still forwarded to second router, and second can forward to the third AS value, or you can have route reflector. Now let's say if you don't have both of them, then you cannot have this prefix reaching here. Okay, so this prefix will not reach here if you don't take care of your iBGP concepts. So in iBGP, you should have the looping prevention, so that you can still forward those prefixes to the next AS value. Okay, in the case of TTL value, TTL is nothing but time to live. Okay, what does it mean? Time to live equals to 1. What does it mean? So let's say when I have two routers, okay, I'm sending a BGP packet with TTL of 1. So that means my packet can only go till this. Okay, and this TTL will be decremented by 1. As soon as my packet went, it was carrying TTL 1. As soon as it reached here, it's gonna be decremented by 1, and now TTL is gonna be 0. That means it has reached till here and got decremented, and that's all. That's what is happening. Now let's say there was something behind this router R3, and you are still sending TTL 1. Now what happens? You're trying to ping 3.3.3.3 from 1.1.1. Your first TTL 1, okay, it will hit this, get decremented by -1, and it's gonna be TTL 0. Now your ping packet will not go to R3. So you will start getting that TTL expired. You will start seeing the packet as TTL expired. So what should be your next step? So next step should be, you will send the next packet, or you will restart from the scratch with TTL value of 2. Okay, So you will send now 2. Now what happens? It will go to the first router R2, get decremented. Even if it get decremented by -1, it's still gonna have TTL 1. And now that TTL is enough to reach to R3. So that's how time to live is calculated. Okay. So this TTL value we often see with ping and traceroute commands or utilities, network troubleshooting utilities, ping and traceroute. By default, your Windows gonna consider TTL value of 255. Okay, so your ping packet can go from one router to another router, okay, for like 255 times, and every router is gonna decrement by -1. So let's say it started with 255, decremented by -1, now it's 254. Over here -1, now it's 253, -1, now it's 252. That's how it goes. And I think 255 hops, you can also call it as hops 1 2 3, right? So 255 hops, that's like more than enough. So if I show you now on my CMD, if let's say I ping a Google server, okay, so you can see the TTL value. There's some TTL value called as 50. So basically I'm sending my packet with some time to live. And why do we do this? Because to avoid looping. Okay. Okay, important, very important concept between a switch and a router. Okay, we say switch, if switch falls into looping, it's infinite looping. That means if they go into a looping stage, they will not come out of it until we manually interfere or remove the cable or shut down the device. They are gonna be infinite looping. Whereas in the case of router, they have packet with TTL values. Okay, the maximum TTL value can be 255 and the lowest TTL value could be 1. So your packets, especially in the routing technologies, can have looping. I don't say I don't say looping may not be seen, because this is a reason for a bad network design and network configuration. If you have very bad network design configuration, you will of course see looping, but these looping have some what do you say, life. Okay, life of let's say only 255 counts, and the packet will then eventually get 0 and the packet will be discarded. Okay, in short, looping in routing is for certain period, or I can say maximum 255 TTL value. And say, let's what happens in case of looping, it's, let's say this is TTL 255. Now this comes back with 254, it goes back with 253, it goes back with 252, so on. At one certain point it's gonna be TTL 0 and the looping will be gone. Okay, but in case of switching there is no concept of TTL. So if you see any looping in the case of switches, your looping will be infinite until you go and plug out or you turn off the device. That's the main difference, or main a difference concept, or a concept between the switch and the router, that you guys should know from that network point of view. Okay, so switching loop is very dangerous when compared to router has this uh, additional component with every packet, which decrement by -1. Okay, which makes this as a temporary loop, not a permanent loop. So if I do trace route, okay, so if you see ping, you saw some packets. If I do a trace route, okay, it's a trace RT. Okay, so what is happening here is, so you see this is my first hop. Okay, so this should be a L3 capable devices. This is my second hop. which is again L3 device. This is my third hop, L3 device, my fourth device. Okay, so on I have multiple hops. So let's say I am here, my packet went to first hop, second hop, third hop, fourth hop, and might be then it reached 8.8.8.8. Okay, so while sending, what I do is I am sending a TTL with 1. Okay, or I say my TTL is uh, let's say 1. So once I go and hit my first hop, my TTL is gonna expire, my TTL is gonna become 0, and this router is gonna send me a record. And what is that record? The record is nothing but this entry. So record is nothing but it's gonna say I am 192.168.1.1 and the TTL is down. So I'm gonna record this entry as my first hop, 192.168.1.0. So what I do next is I am sending another packet with TTL of 2, because I know TTL 1 got expired and I have my hop. I am sending the next packet with TTL value of 2. So it hits the first one. It's not gonna take back once again the record because I have a additional TTL. It will go and hit this router 2, and the TTL is gonna expire now, and this is gonna send its information. So let's say this is some firewall. Okay, when you see asterisk symbol, there could be two reasons. Either it's getting dropped, might be because of latency, or second might be that hop was a firewall, and a firewall usually don't respond back to the ICMP packet. Okay, so the asterisk symbol says this was a firewall. Now I will send another packet with TTL 3, time to live 3 packet. It will hit first, second and third, get expired. It's gonna send its information. Okay, and I'm going to get this IP 10.72.169.6. I'm going to send one more incremented and so on. So you see, after couple of TTLs, I finally reached my destination 8.8.8, and every router on my path was giving its information. So this is how, and this is the back end of your traceroute command. So this is what happens. Okay, so the point here is all this are happening because of the TTL, time to live. So in case of eBGP, we say this component TTL is 1. So that means the eBGP is considered to be directly connected. Now my question is, if I ever want to make my loop back to form BGP neighbors, okay, we know that loopbacks are always up, and most of us in our production prefer loopback to form eBGP relation. Okay, so what happens in such scenarios are, you are gonna have multiple hops. One is from here and second hop is from this router to its own loopback. Now they are going to be 2 hops and you are sending only one TTL. So by default, loopback to loopback, there will be no eBGP. But yes, there is a concept called multi hops. You might have heard about this. So I will set my TTL value. I'm going to set my TTL to be 2. So what happens? This will be my first TTL and this would be my second TTL. That's why we have neighbor relationship between two loopback in with respect to eBGP with the help of multi hops. Okay, we have this lab, we will discuss. AD value 20, next hop by default is exchanged, and they need to be directly connected. Okay, eBGP are directly connected. Okay, as I was talking about multi hop and update source. So multi hop is something which I was talking here. So let me tell you what is multi hop. So in case of eBGP, the TTL value is 1. Okay, so what happens is two loopbacks cannot form neighborship. Okay, so I'm talking about eBGP. So let's say this is AS1 and AS2. Let's say I just form eBGP between two physical links. So that's fine. I can configure and I can see my BGP coming up. But let's say I want to bring my loop back. Okay, I want to bring my loop back to have eBGP relationship. Now what happens is my multi hop has to be taken care. So I'll show you this. Okay, so the solution is multi hop. Use this command. The command does not apply to IBGP because in IBGP the TTL value is 255. That is why I said you remember this for now. Okay, in IBGP TTL is 255. So you have in any corner they still have lot of TTL values so that they can find it out. Okay, but in case of eBGP the TTL is just 1, so you don't have much option there. So this is regards to eBGP. Now regards to update source. Okay, what is update source? Now this is again something interesting concept in BGP. So let's say this is AS1 and this is AS2. I have two routers. Okay, so what by default the BGP packets are gonna take as source and destination? They're gonna take the outgoing interface IP. Okay, so this becomes the source and this becomes the destination. Now when I'm talking about loop back 1 and loop back 1 here, and I am talking about the multi-hop formation, they will still not form the neighborship. The reason is while having the neighbors between this loop back and this loop back, your packet are still considered, or your packet is still considering this as a source and this as a destination. Okay, by default in BGP the outgoing interface is getting considered, that act as your source. Okay, so there is no way loopbacks can form neighborship. So what I do is I bring up the concept of update source loopback. Okay, so what happens is now my packet will not consider this as source, it will start considering this IP, the IP of loopback, as source. Okay, and that's how they're gonna send and they're gonna be neighbors. So let's do the lab and let's prove this. Okay, I also have created some assignment, I'm going to give this to you guys. Okay, so there are couple of things which I'll give it today. Okay, I don't want you guys to be just listening to the class, I want you guys to start practicing. Okay, regards to the first lab which I'm going to do right now, that's multi hop and update source. Where do we need this? In eBGP. Why do we need this? Because TTL by default is 1 and there's no way I can bring up BGP or eBGP relation between loopbacks. Okay, the best preferred is to have loopbacks as your BGP because they don't go down. Okay, they usually don't go down, they are always up. Okay, now let's configure. Let me open up my GNS. And I mentioned first hop and second hop. That's between the two routers, which is first hop, and from router to the loopback act as the second hops. Okay. So till here, I'm going to do what I have to show it. Later on, for your practice, I'm recreating another lab with different kind of IPs. So you need to try the same thing, that is multi-hopping and update source. Okay. So in this diagram, the thing things are little different, okay, not completely different. I'll tell you how is it different. Let me start them. Okay, so in case of this kind of topology, if you see, there are two interfaces which are forming eBGP. Okay, this is AS, this is AS, and they are forming eBGP. And what happens is, as I told you, your BGP packet is going to take your outgoing interface, right? So this is going to take as a source, and this is acting as the destination. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to make use of uh, the multi-hop concept and source concept. Source. So let's say I'm forming multi-hop between these two loopback. Okay. So if I have two loopbacks and I want to advertise over on here, so I need to bring my multi-hop concept. And also you will observe that by default this is not acting as the source, or this is not acting as destination. Okay, this will be not acting as destination. So by default they would be considering these physical interfaces. So for that I will make use of update source command. Okay, so that will help you to think on this scenarios and practice. But don't worry, answers will be provided to you over on WhatsApp. I'll also give you the CLI commands on WhatsApp so that you can refer back. Okay, it's just that I want you to practice, just think about it, and for a reference I'll give you the solutions on WhatsApp. Okay, fine. So let's do the first lab. I'll open up this routers. So let's see, what do I have here? I have IP address. Do I have BGP? Okay, I do not have any BGPs. Okay, so I guess it's the same with all the routers. So there are interfaces. No BGP. Show IP interface brief. Exclude unassigned. Show run session. BGP. Okay, so no BGP on three of them. So let's configure BGP first. Router BGP local AS value 65,000. What is my neighbor? Neighbor is 209.165.201.2. What is the remote AS? Remote AS is 65,001. Okay. Let's define the network statement. Network statement, what am I advertising? I'm advertising 209.165.201.0 and mask of 255.255.255.0. Okay. So on the, okay, do I have loopback? Yes, I have loopback. So let's advertise loopback as well. Okay. So on the second side, I go to conft, I say router BGP 65,001. Neighbor here is 209.165.201.1. Remote AS is 65,000. Networks are, one of them is this, mask of 255.255.255.0. I also have other networks, so let's advertise all of them. So let's have 10 series. Okay, that's nothing but one of iBGP, that's sharing with Vodafone router 28. Okay, mask of 255.255.0, and also let me advertise my loopback. So 3 networks as you see here, and I'm gonna advertise them. Okay, I have not advertised yet the neighbor between these two, which I'm going to do now. I need to define the neighbor statement for my IBGP. Okay, it's 10.172.13.2 okay, sorry, it's a remote AS 65001. Okay, so let's check once. So I have neighborship with my okay, these are network commands. These are the two neighbors from the router 27 point of view. Okay, okay, so let's go to the last router. Let's go to router BGP 65001. The neighbor here is 10.172.13.1 remote 65001. The networks here are these two: 255.255.255.0 and the loopback. Okay, great. So let's see the neighbors first. The neighbors relationship, show IPBGP summary. So they are forming neighbors. Okay, so router 1 or the AT&T router forming neighbor with its directly connected Vodafone router. From Vodafone router point of view, the eBGP Vodafone router, it's having two BGP relation. One is with IBGP. This is IBGP. The other one is eBGP, external border. Okay, eBGP. So let's say, okay, now let's see the TTL values. The first, let's see what are the TTL values by default. Okay, so if I open up the capture between these two, so as of now I opened the capture on eBGP. Okay, and I'll filter it for BGP only. Let's see what are TTL values. So TTL will be over here. So you see the TTL value is 1. Okay, which we know in case of eBGP the TTLs are going to be 1. How about in IBGP? Okay, so when we do lab, make sure you read the packet so that you accordingly match them with the theoretical points. Okay, don't just blindly by heart those points. So in case of IBGP, so they have already formed BGP. So what I do is, okay, I got one packet, fine. I got one packet. What is TTL here? So TTL is 255, and that's something which we will prove now. Okay, so 255 TTL, you can have neighborship between any corners in case of IBGP, but in the case of eBGP, only two neighbors or a directly connected routers can form the neighbors relation. Okay, not anyone else. So to prove that, what I'll do is to prove that concept that that in case of eBGP, I cannot have the loopback by default forming neighborship with the loopback on the other router. So if you see, they are on the same router. Loopback is an internal virtual interface. Okay, I'm not talking about neighborship with this router. I'm talking about two directly connected routers and the software basis of interface, the loopback interface. So by default they are not going to form neighbor because of the TTL of only one. Okay, so to avoid this or to overcome this situation, we will make use of multi-hop, and I'm going to define my TTL manually to 2. Okay, so let's do that. So I open my workbook. Okay, and I'll show you line by line so that you know how to use this workbook. So I go back to my CLI, okay, and let's say on first device, that is AT&T 26, I go to conft, I say I'm gonna build, okay, let's enter to router BGP 65,000. Let's say I wanna become neighbor with loopback of Vodafone R27. So what is the loopback of that? So let's see that. So loopback is this, okay. So what I'm going to do, I take this, I put it over here, I say remote AS is 65001, okay. Now the similar way, as usual, I go to my second router and I'll make the same configuration, okay. I say my neighbor now is the loopback of this, okay. And what is the loopback here? So loopback here is this IP. And what is the remote AS? 65000, okay. And if you see the packet now, okay, if you see the packet now, you will see a lot of differences, or you will see some surprising things, okay. So from AT&T 26, we need to see the packets from this packet, from this, okay, because this is the loopback now. So do we have any new packets coming up? Okay, so there is nothing coming up here, okay. Okay, so what I'll do is, and what are the configurations here? So I have neighbor with my loopback, okay. And over here, I have loopback, or I have neighbor with the loopback of other side, this IP. So they will not form neighbors until I fix this multi-hop issue, okay. So what I'm going to do is, I'll bring up another command here called as neighbor 29.29.29.1 eBGP multi-hop, and as you know, TTL is 1 by default, so I'm going to give TTL of 2, okay. So you see now the packet started originating, okay. So you see packets are now coming up from that loopback. So you see the TTL was 2, okay, and TTL got decremented by 1, you see 1, okay, and they are forming neighbors now. So 2 TTLs are enough to form neighborship, okay. And if you see my PDF, so I have written here 2 hops, okay. As soon as you give that single command of eBGP multi-hop 2, you could see the changes here, okay. So let me show you once again what happened here. So this was the first packet, okay. So the TTL you can see here, it's 2, because that's my manual command that's making it to send TTL of 2. As soon as it went from one hop to second hop, okay, that's over here, you see the TTL was decremented by 1. So that means your packet is going on from one side to other side, and the TTL is getting decremented by -1. So it required 2 TTL to reach to the loopback, okay. So if I see my neighbors now, so you will see there is a neighbor relationship with your loopback, but unfortunately you have not created multi-hop on router number 2. That's why they are not going to have a happy neighbor relationship. Okay, so what is happening is, from one side you are reaching till the loopback of the second router. Okay, but unfortunately your second router don't have multi-hop concept, so it's not gonna have a successful neighbors. Okay, so that's why you will see here that neighbors are trying to come up, but they have not formed a happy neighbor. It says they were never, there was a non-neighborship here. Okay, similar way, if you see on this side, do show IP BGP summary, so you will see the neighbors are not come up. Okay, so let's see what is happening here. So for the packet, for those packets which are originating from loopback, so what is happening here is 299.299.299.1, it's going till the interface only. Okay, it's not reaching till the loopback. So basically loopback was this IP. Okay, so on one side it is 299 29.29, and other side do show IP int brief exclude unassign. You see the other side it's 209. Okay, so you will not see your packet that's originating from loopback reaching to the other loopback. It's just going till the other router's physical IP. Okay, then it's not moving up because of TTL1 getting expired. What I'll do, I'll go to this router. I will say my neighbor now. What was the neighbor that I defined? Okay, it's here. And I'll make use of multi-hop. Okay, I say eBGP multi-hop, and I say it's 2 now. And let's see what happens now. Okay, so it's gonna send some passive message. So you can see passive down error during. Okay, so BGP peer reset, lot of things. So let's see if neighbors are coming up or no. They are not up. You fix the TTL, but they are not up. Okay, do show IP BGP summary. See, they are not up. Now what is the concern? Now let's see what is the concern. If I take one of the latest packet to just understand why are they not coming up. So you see, the source was my loopback, destination is some physical IP, so that's making it look weird. That's why they're not getting that neighbor connection, or they're not establishing the neighbor. Why? Because destination should have been the loopback address of the second router. Agree? This should have been loopback. Okay, so what is happening is, in case of eBGP, when you have two routers, by default they are gonna consider the outgoing interface IP to be source, and similar way over here, this is going to be considering your physical outgoing interface is gonna be considered as destination IP. Now you need to change that behavior because you're making use of loopback address. Okay, so loopback should be the source, and on other side the other loopback should be destination. So how do we change that? How do I change that behavior so that my BGP packets take the loopback as source? Okay, so what I do here is I say update source as loopback 1. Okay, so I'm saying that my source packet should be considered of my loopback address, not my physical address. Okay, and on this side I do the same thing. I say source update source loopback 1. Now let's see what happens. You see the packets are changed now. Now it's loopback to loopback. So you see loopback 1, loopback 2. You do you have any other packet? See, you can see the other packet here. Now the packet source and destination have been changed. They have been updated. Okay, So now if you see in this example, this particular example, let me take this, or you can also take this. Now these are between loop back to loop back to the loop back of second router. Okay, why is it happening now? Why was it not happening? Because previously it was taking the outgoing interface IP for its source and destination, but now after the command update source, it started considering the loop back. So now let's see what is the neighbor relationship. Okay, so if I see from the first router, do show IP BGP summary, so you see they have formed neighbor. Okay, past 1 minute they are seen to be neighbors, a happy neighbor. Okay, not a crying neighbor with never established. Now it's a happy neighbors. See, you can see here they are neighbors. So two things required when you have eBGP and you're forming eBGP between loopbacks. Okay, so go back, let's come back to this PDF. And what are multi-hop and what are update source? So basically in case of eBGP, the TTL are 1. To avoid such to avoid any issues concerning to loopback eBGP relation, we are making use of eBGP multi-hop and we are sending more TTLs. Now you are sending more TTLs, that's fine, but they are not going to have a happy neighbors, because the source and destination are still acting as the default BGP uh, theoretical concept, that they are gonna take the source and destination of the outgoing interface, the physical outgoing interface, and that's why they are not establishing the neighborship relation between two loopbacks. So what do? You make use of update source to change that behavior, and then finally you have a better thing with you. So you see the source and destination was updated. You see the TTL. Okay, now let's see the TTL value. Okay, so that we have already checked. Now let's see once again, the TTL should be 2 now. Okay, so it says TTL 2 because that's why that's something which I manually had changed it. Okay, so this is one important topic with respect to eBGP. This is update source, and now it's your turn. Okay, so you don't have to give two IPs. You can still go with single IP. Just create a simple topology and just start hitting your keyboards. Okay, and start practicing. If you're stuck, you will have your answers, which I'll give over WhatsApp, so you can refer back. Okay, the next topic here, which is called as BGP peer group. Okay, a simple topic, not complicated. I don't want to bring multiple complicated topic in one class and confuse. So I consider having up and down topics, so we can have like 2-3 topics in one class. Okay, regards to peer group, it's when you have multiple policies, multiple common policies, and instead of repeating it every time, what you can do is you can create a group. Okay, and inside this group you can attach your policies, and this group will be associated with neighbors. It's very easy. For example, if you see my BGP statement as of now, okay, so if I take this whole thing and I'll keep it here, so let's see what all things I did. So this was a default configuration which I have not done. It automatically started getting shown up. So from my side, I did all these configuration, and for you, if you see, for this neighbor, I have done eBGP multi-hop and update source. Now let's say I had another neighbor with very similar configuration, something like, let's say I also had eBGP with 113.113.113.1. Okay, so I say the remote peer is let's consider some some AS values like this. Okay, I know what is eBGP, so I'm going to say this neighbor has eBGP of 2. Again, this neighbor is gonna have update on loopback source IPs. Okay, so if you see, there are multiple policies which could have been combined, or what happens, your router BGP is gonna have multiple statements. Because BGP is something which is facing towards internet. Okay, so you will be advertising multiple networks. So this was one network, might be this is second network, you might have 10-20 networks, and gradually this size of your BGP process is gonna increase. So what I can do is I can create peer grouping. Okay, peer grouping is something where I can create a peer group. So let's say what would I have done in this scenario. Okay, a rough example. So I would, okay, so let me bring this notepad here. So let's say I have defined all my neighbors. Okay, so let's say I have this neighbors defined here. Fine. Rest are all repeated things. So what I would done is I would create a neighbor group. So let's say neighbor, I define a word, any word, it could be just for your resemblance. Okay, and you say it's a peer group. You define neighbor, whatever neighbor is this, and then you say peer group and that word. Okay, you just make use of this once again, something like 113.113.113.1. Okay, so this is gonna be your peer group, and similar way you can also create the actual lines. So for example, these are my two actual lines, okay, which is required. So this is just a policies. Okay, I have created a policy with associated with this word. Now it comes to the actual line. So I say that this is 209.165.201.1 and eBGP is 2, or I can also call it as that word. Okay, something like this. And for update loopback, I'll still make use of the word and it's 1. Okay, so I am saving so many lines, I don't need this many lines. So this was my configurations. These are my configurations without peer groups. Okay, without BGP peer groups. For every neighbors, I'm going to define its own parameters. Okay, if I have this neighbor, I'm gonna define its parameter. If I have 10 different number of neighbors, I'm gonna define parameters individually. But in the case of peer group, what I do is I create a policies. Okay, I create a word and I associate those words with my neighbors. So this is my first neighbor and second neighbor, and I say what are they basically are. So I say this is nothing but it's a multi-hop 2. So that's nothing but it's effective. It's effective to these two statement. Similar way, I say this word is also having a policy of loopback, update loopback. So that means it's getting associated with these two. Okay, so a lot of things I'm just avoiding now. So let's say I had 10 different neighbors. So I would have written something like this, right? For every different neighbors, its own multi-hop and update source. This was a legacy method without peer group concept. But in case of peer group, what I have to do is I just have to write one statement, okay, and rest are being called up. So my whole configuration under BGP process would be just summarized version. That's all. That's all about peer group. It's very simple, just a theoretical topic, and just to make it understandable, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you another assignment. Take your time, don't rush. I want you to take this and configure. Very simple thing. Okay, make use of eBGP concept, where you have to define manual neighbors. Second, make use of multi-hopping. Okay, that's because you're advertising your loopbacks as well. Okay, you're creating your eBGP on loopbacks, so don't try to create BGP here. Okay, so how can you achieve this when you don't have eBGP? You can have a static route, or just forget about all these things. Okay, just I'm giving you a solution that when there are no eBGP, how are these loopback going to be eBGPs? Because you can point a static route. Okay, a return static route. So you have static reachability between this network and this network, and you can form eBGP. But in this scenario, you have plenty of options. You can have OSPF configured between this and all this, and then you can have your eBGP between loopback to loopback, or you can also go with eBGP concept that I shown you today. Okay, I configured eBGP and also eBGP here, eBGP here, and similar way eBGP here. Okay, so first thing is your eBGP concept, that you should have a eBGP between this, 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 and this, and this, and this. Okay, once you have that, you cannot have eBGP until you have the multi hopping and you have update source. Okay, so you need to bring up this topic. So once you get this, as we are making use of 3 different neighbors, you will see the whole lines within router BGP will start increasing. Okay, here is when you need to bring up your concept of peer grouping. I have given you the complete command. Okay, don't worry about getting stuck. They are a complete A to Z command, but try to configure it from your side. Okay, at least till here. Okay, at least till your loopback update source and multi hop, and then for peer group you can just refer over here how a peer group is gonna work. So what is it? So you are defining the IP interfaces on R1 towards R2. On R2 you are also having your loopback. Similar way you have R1 to R3, and R3 has its own loopback. You have R1 to R4, and you have your R4 loopback, and at the end the loopback of R1 itself. Okay, loopback of R1 itself, which I have not shown it here because then you will take it as with respective to R2. So I don't want to have confusion. I kept this R1 configuration in a separate the horizontal line. Okay, once you done this, once you have done this step, you need to make BGP neighbors now. Okay, go with the legacy method that you know. You're going to define the 3 direct neighbors. You're going to define your update source as loopback. You're gonna define your eBGP multi-hop. They are going to be 2 TTLs. Okay, so once you do this, you see there are hell lot of lines now, and now to reduce or simplify that, just bring up the concept of peer grouping. Okay, what is peer grouping? BGP router may have many neighbors that require BGP policies. Okay, so peer groupings are used to simplify the configuration and to improve the performance. How is your policies or how is your peer group gonna help you improvising the performance? The reason is when in the case of peer grouping, router has a group of neighbors with the same policy. So what happens is update are sent per group rather than per neighbors. That is how the performance, the CPU, the overhead are getting improvised. Okay, so let me tell you, in this scenario, in this scenario, the legacy method, the updates are taken in three updated packets. So this is one update, second update, third update, fourth update, fifth update, and sixth update. But when you have peer group, the whole peer group, which is this ID, this will be considered as one update source, which will take the information of all the associated prefixes. Okay, so that's going to help saving some CPUs. Peer groups save a lot of time and typing issues or typing mistakes. Peer groups make updating more efficient and improve performance. That you know why is it do. Okay, so give it try. It's a fun. You have all the config. I don't ask you to do it on your own. So it's something which you need to practice. Okay, fine. So that's end the peer group here. Okay, so do we have time? So it's already 12. Fine, so let's start this from the next class. Okay, uh, the best path selection. So they are all about the attributes, and I don't want you to I don't want you to just make it boring with the important topic. So we can discuss this in the next class. Okay, so if you have any doubt, please let me know. You can unmute yourselves, guys. Let me check the chat window. Okay, what does it mean? I can only see PDF file with question 5 and 6. Okay. Reflect. I wonder what's my personal TT. Okay, so if you're asking about the update source, so you just saw that while the packets before update loop back before updating the update source, you saw it was between the physical IP and the loopback. They were not between loopback and loopback. Okay, so somewhere, okay, so somewhere here. So if you see, it was originating from one of the loopback. On the destination side, it was trying to build neighborship with this IP. Okay, 209.165.201. But in fact, we are trying to make neighborship between two loopbacks, loopback one on one side and loopback one on other side. So we had defined our loopback, we have defined our neighbors to be a loopback IP. Okay, so what I did, I started updating my source. I said the packet which is hitting the loopback while going back, now take my IP as the source. Okay, initially what was happening, the packet was which was hitting the loopback was going back from the loopback. It was going to its own router, and from its own router it was considering the outgoing IP as the source. Okay, to change that behavior, I made use of update source, and then you saw a sudden change or sudden immediate reflect. So it started between loopback now, because loopback started pushing its own IP as the source. Okay, so let me show you where exactly that happened. Okay, somewhere here. Okay, it was here. So you see, till here it was still between a loopback and the physical IP, and then immediately it changed. You can see here it was a loopback to loopback, and if you see the IP header, you will see source and destination are two loopback. Whereas if you take any packet prior to configuring update source, it was a loopback and the destination being a physical IP. So even if you see here, between the two physical IPs, okay, source and destination, the TTL was considered as 2. Okay, we need only one, but we have configured 2 for our loopback purpose, right? So the TTL was 2. Even though the TTL was 2, it was actually not getting neighbors. We could see the new neighbors have started coming up inside our neighbor table, but they were not a happy neighbor. They were a sad neighbor. They told, we can see our neighbor, but we cannot form a happy neighbor because I don't get my return packet from him. Instead, the return packet is coming from his family or from his router, or the physical IP from that router. Okay, I need his IP so that I can form neighbor with that loopback. So it was here, somewhere here, where I configured update source, and then they both could form neighbors. Okay, fine. So is there any other doubt? So guys, start practicing, start checking Wireshark. Okay, it's interesting. Networks are all interesting. All packets are recorded. So you just need to see what is happening, or what is these packets uh, gonna contain, or what are their behaviors. Okay, which makes it interesting to troubleshoot. So you see on other side you have all the packet details. So you see here it's a route refresh. Okay, so till here it was between the loopback and the physical IP. As soon as you covered, or as soon as you configured the update source, it refreshed. Okay, the root refresh message was sent saying that there is an update. You can see here update message, and that's how they started forming neighbors between two loopback now. Okay, so any change in the network, there will be update packet sent for a refreshing the network. If you see here, they are going to carry a lot of update packets. Okay, so let's see what is within route refresh. So within route refresh, you see something called as AFI, address family identifier, and you also see SAFI, subsequent address family identifier. So these are two with respect to the identifier or the IP address or the update of the source. Okay, so there was one question regards to this, might be I'll bring up in the next class. Okay, so in the update message, it's gonna say what is being updated, what is being taken down. So these are all attributes. This is NLRI, network layer reachability information. So for every prefix in the sense like 10.172 and 29.29, it's gonna carry its information. What is a prefix length and what is prefix? So every packet, let's say I had one update packet, I also have one more update packet. You will see NLRI, and you will see another network and its prefix length and prefix. Similar way, if you open another update message, you will see NLRI. There's one more prefix, and you will see prefix length. And so every prefix will be uh, update. I mean, every prefix inside the update message will have multiple NRI. Okay, that was something which I mentioned here, but I'll take it in the next class. Okay, so NLRI is a component which will carry network prefix and prefix length. That is how inside the update message you will see multiple prefixes like 1.1.1, 2.2.2, and these individual prefixes will have its own attribute. Okay, and these attribute might be different for different prefixes, right? So this NLRI is creating that boundaries between one update for one prefix, the same update for the second prefix, the same update for third prefix. Okay, because if you see, there are couple of update messages inside one packet. Okay, So you see there are couple of update messages. Now this update message could be universal or could be a global for 5 prefixes, but it's not required all these 5 prefixes have same parameters or same policies, right? One could have some attribute, the second could have second attribute. So to differentiate that, we are making use of NLRI. So this NLRI is nothing but it's whatever like path attribute. So if I open this, whatever the attributes are, they're associated with this network. If you open up the second update message, the NLRI is different now. It's a prefix of 1.1.1 and the path attributes could be different. I will see this path attribute, but as of now, I don't care about path attribute. They could be different, okay? And I don't want to mix match all the things. So NLRI is one which is differentiating attributes in this update message, okay? And if you see the other two things here which I showed you in the route refresh, that's address family identifier and subsequent address family identifier. This is also important. I'll tell you this in the next class with some examples so that you understand, okay? So if there's no further doubts, let's wind up and let's meet up in the next class. So take care till then and have a nice day. See you all. Take care.